Located on the back of the machine toward the bottom, there is a slot cut out that serves as the entry point for the electrical connection. The terminal block for the machine is located in the front. To get to the terminal block, you must first take off the lower front panel. After removing the lower front panel, the terminal block will be located at the bottom right of the cabinet. To access it, remove the nut from the circuit board and gently swing it out of the way. Then remove the screw and box cover. You will see on the terminal block labels L1, L2, L3, and N for neutral. Notice that L3 is only used with a three-phase machine. The UH330 uses a 4-wire connection, 2 hot wires, a dedicated neutral wire, and a ground wire. Whenever you are wiring the machine, you can change it from a single phase to a fill-convertible 3-phase machine. The third phase is pre-wired, meaning that all you have to do is locate the third phase wire near the booster and attach it. On the back of the front panel, you will find 2 things. 1, the instructions on how to connect the third phase wire to the booster, and 2, the 3-phase data plate. Be sure to replace the data plate on the front with this one if you change your machine to a 3-phase system. Also, notify the manufacturer that the machine has been changed to 3-phase. Moving on to the drain hose connection. The hose and hose barb will be tie-wrapped at the rear of the machine. When installing the drain hose, be sure to use the provided hose barb and be sure to screw it into the Y fitting, provided by others, that is vented. Or if using a floor drain, be sure to secure the hose directly onto the drain to prevent spillage. Now let's talk about the rinse aid and detergent tube installation. Each tube is marked clearly as rinse and detergent. Simply place the tubes inside the containers of each chemical and prime the machine. Now that the chemical tubes are secured in their individual containers, press up on the prime button. You will hear the detergent pump activate. If you open the door, you can also see the detergent entering the machine through a black rubber fitting located on the right wall. The UH330 also comes with a rinse aid pump, although using it is optional. To prime the rinse aid pump, press down on the prime button. Once more, you will be able to hear a pump activate. To check that the rinse aid is entering the machine, check the clear rinse aid tubing in the back of the machine. You will be able to see the green rinse aid chemical going through the pipe. Once the electrical and drain connections have been made, if necessary, you can adjust the water fill. This is pre-adjusted at the factory, but if you have low incoming water pressure, then sometimes you may have to adjust the fill. The fill is the amount of water that the machine is filled with during its initial fill. To adjust this and all the machine's other chemicals, simply turn their respective chemical adjustment screws clockwise to increase or counterclockwise to decrease. Now we're going to point out some of the components in this machine. Remove this nut and swing the circuit board housing to the side. Now remove the screw that holds the pump housing in place and swing it open as well. Here we have the chemical pumps. Further in we can see the water valve, the booster contactor, and behind this cover is the circuit board. Upon removing the circuit board cover, take note that this machine uses a 4-amp fuse. This fuse will protect the board from damage in case of a short or defective part in the machine. We also ship an extra fuse with the machine. Now let's talk about high limits. There are 2 high limits on the UH330B. The first is the water tank high limit. It can be found on the wash tank itself. The second is the booster high limit. Check these on your initial installation if you do not have 180 degrees on your final rinse readout. High limits have a chance of being tripped during shipping. Now we will be installing the UH330B's water connection. Note that it uses a 3/4-inch garden hose connection that you will use to screw onto your water supply. Also notable is the fact that this machine does not need a hot water connection. It uses cold water and has a built-in heat recovery system. There is no PRV required for this machine. However, there is a minimum of a 25 psi flow pressure required for the machine. Here we will point out more of the different components on the UH330B. First of all, we have the booster contactor that controls the heat for the booster. We have the drain diverter valve located here in the center of the machine. This acts as the drain valve and diverts the water for your wash cycle. Toward the back of the machine, we have the wash pump that pumps the water to the upper and lower wash arms. Finally, we have the rinse pump connected at the bottom of the tank, which is the final rinse pump. Using this built-in pump, we can maintain 20 psi during the final rinse at all times, regardless of the incoming pressure. Let's take a closer look back at our chemical pumps. Here we have the detergent and final rinse pumps. During the priming of the chemicals, you will see these pumps activate. Here you can see the back of the pumps. Pre-scrape dishes in a sink. Load the dishes into a rack and load the rack into the machine. Once the dishes are loaded and the door is closed, the UH330B has a feature that allows the use of 3 different modes of operation: normal, light, and heavy. To choose your desired mode, push the cycle button until the light blinks on the desired operation, then press start. You should hear the machine start the first cycle. When the in-cycle light turns off, the load is finished cleaning. Now you can take out the clean rack of dishes and replace it with your next load of soiled ones. Now we're going to show you how the self-diagnostics work on the UH330B. To start the self-diagnostics, you must first turn the machine off by flipping the power switch to the off position. The machine will then start a drain mode, and once the machine is completely drained, you can continue with the self-diagnostics. The first thing you should do is open the door. If a light blinks, then the door switch is operational. Now press the start switch. Once more, if the light blinks, then the start switch is functioning properly. To check all the other components on the machine, simply press and release the start button 3 times. The first thing you will hear is the fill valve. Secondly, you will hear the detergent pump, then the rinse aid pump, then the drain valve opens and closes, then the wash pump activates, and last, the drain pump or the chemical pump, if applicable. That is the completion of the self-diagnostics.